If you're feeling down, just remember that the Earth, the only planet known to sustain life, used to look like this. So all good things take time. Did you know that pens don't work in space? The way pens work is gravity pulls down the ink towards the bottom of them. But if you are on the International Space Station, there isn't that gravity to pull the ink down. Astronauts could use pencils, but then the graphite could break off and float around, which could be a choking hazard and just a little bit dangerous. So special fancy space pens were created that still allow astronauts to write in space. This shows how much water and air there are on Earth compared to the size of the Earth itself. And to me, these seemed really small. 71% of the Earth is covered in water, but compared to the overall size of the Earth, the depth of that water is pretty small. And almost all of that water is salt water contained in the ocean. There's a second sphere up here showing the amount of fresh water in the world, and it's really small. You can barely see it. And most of that fresh water is in glaciers, not places like rivers and lakes. I thought that this was pretty mind-blowing because it seems like water and air are all around us in our daily lives. The center of the Milky Way galaxy smells like rum and tastes like raspberries. I know that sounds like a ridiculous statement, but a radio telescope zeroed in on a gas cloud at the center of the Milky Way galaxy called Sagittarius B2. They discovered a large amount of a chemical called ethyl formate, and that's what gives rum its distinct smell and raspberries their distinct taste. The center of the Milky Way doesn't sound so bad. Did you know that Pluto is smaller than the United States? It's smaller than our moon too. And poor tiny little Pluto was demoted from being a planet to a dwarf planet back in 2006. Did you know that the moon is slowly moving away from the Earth at about 1.6 inches or 4 centimeters a year? Eventually, it'll take billions of years, but scientists think that it will move far enough away to escape Earth's orbit. So at that point, we'll no longer have a moon. 62 new moons were found orbiting around Saturn, bringing the total number of moons of that planet to 145. This takes the crown of the most moons in the solar system away from Jupiter and makes Saturn the only planet we know anywhere that has more than 100 moons orbiting it. Have you ever seen a towel wrung out in space? So this video is showing that when that happens, instead of the water coming out and falling down, it forms basically a tube of water covering the towel and then even going over the person's hands. So what's happening is on Earth, gravity is strong enough, so once pressure is applied, when the towel is wrung out, the gravity pulls the water down and it falls. But on the International Space Station where this is filmed, gravity is weaker and the surface tension is strong enough to keep the water there around the towel. Did you know that one of Saturn's moons is basically a giant mirror reflecting sunlight? It's called Enceladus, and its icy surface reflects over 90% of the sun's light that hits it. Because it reflects this light instead of absorbing it, it's really cold on the planet. It gets down to minus 201 degrees Celsius or minus 330 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's 1/7 the diameter of the Earth's moon. So it's pretty small, super icy, and just reflecting so much light that it's one of the brightest objects in our solar system. These images show how the James Webb Space Telescope is able to capture some incredibly detailed pictures of space that other telescopes like the Hubble telescope can't capture. So first of all, both these telescopes use giant mirrors to collect light in space, and the James Webb Space Telescope's mirrors are 5 times larger than that of the Hubble Space Telescope. They're also calibrated for different wavelengths, so the James Webb can see infrared light while the Hubble focuses more on visible and ultraviolet light. And neither of these is necessarily better. They're just able to detect different things, different types of gases, other kinds of elements in space.